Hey, this is Ish, and in today's talk, I'll be going over the commonalities between monks and advanced meditators and psychopaths, and specifically in how they socialize. And the two commonalities that they have are emptiness and also extreme presence, and how this may look similar, but there are actually some slight differences. And I'll be talking to you a little bit more about just my experience interacting with monks for over a decade, studying in different Buddhist monasteries, and then also having known a psychopath personally. He was actually my best friend for over 10 years. I'll be talking to you about those insights. So I'll first start by talking about the neurotypical non-meditator, just to serve as a contrast of not having much presence and being full of things. So what do I mean by this? So when you look at the neurotypical non-meditator, especially in today's modern distracted world, you can say that their life is filled with quote unquote stuff. They may also be very distracted, and this prevents them from being fully present with another person in conversation. So a lot of people today in conversations may be on their phones, especially today in the younger generations. They're on social media like TikTok, for example, and they may also be not fully present in a conversation, like I mentioned. So they may be fidgeting a lot. They may be, tapping their feet up and down or adjusting their jewelry or their clothing in conversation. And they may also be stuck in their minds, so thinking about the future or the past or queuing up what they want to say next. So as a result, they are not fully listening and they're not fully present. They may also hold very strong beliefs and identifications. So they take this very fixed view on things, whether it's the latest news, politics, latest fashion trends, whatever it is. These views also prevent them from fully listening and also being flexible as well. So as a result, in a conversation, they are not their attention is not fully present with another person. Now, one facet of charisma is presence. And this is something that monks and also psychopaths do very well. So I'll first talk to you about the meditation side of things. So I have studied in different Zen centers and also different Buddhist centers for over a decade, going on retreats, deepening my meditation practice, meeting with monks one-on-one. So you go on these long retreats for 10 days, 14 days, and so on. And you're just meditating and speaking with monks and learning more to deepen your practice. And one thing you'll notice in when you're speaking with a monk, and there's one-on-ones, in Zen they call it dokusan, is that the room and environment also embodies the sense of emptiness as well. So there's minimal distractions. Zen, that's definitely in the Zen flavor where there's minimal furniture. It has an austere feel to it. There's not a lot of things going on in the room. And this is very different from today's modern world where when if you want to meet up with a friend, you may go to a restaurant or a bar or a mall, and where things are just busy, chaotic. There's a lot of sense pressures on you. But it's very different in these environments where there's a lot of simplicity and austerity. And this actually allows you to be fully present with another person. Your mind isn't pulled to the outside distractions. And in addition, when you are talking to a monk, you'll notice that if they have a very strong practice, their body is completely still like a mountain. Their thoughts are also very minimal, and you can tell that they're fully looking at you and just taking what you're saying fully. And they have very good listening skills. They're completely present with you. And because as a result of their meditation practice, they've learned to let go of their internal stuff. So again, these are these very fixed views on certain things, a hankering for the past or future, different plans going on. They're completely present in the moment, and they're also emptied out from certain mental defilements that keep them stuck. So very strong emotions that distract the mind and disturb their concentration meditation practice. They've learned over time how to empty all these qualities out and be completely still and tranquil. Their attention is fully placed on you, and there isn't much self rumination or self referencing. And this is a very attractive quality because other people want to be seen and also want to be listened to. And when your attention is completely on them and not thinking about yourself and self-directed, the other person feels completely seen, felt, and heard and understood. Now, when you combine these factors, you get someone who's very present, and also this contributes to the sense of charisma. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about a story that ties into this. I read this great book called The Charisma Myth, I think over probably like 10, 15 years ago by Olivia Fox Cabane. And in the book, she goes over a story of Benjamin Disraeli and William Gladstone, who at the time were competing to be the prime minister of the United Kingdom. And both of them were, very talented and competent, she describes. Both of them had dinner with a woman. And this was a week before their election to be elected as prime minister. Now, when a journalist then spoke to that woman afterwards and asked about the impressions between both those individuals, she had responded, "When I had left the dining room after sitting next to Gladstone, I thought he was the cleverest man in England. But when I sat next to Disraeli, I left feeling that I was the cleverest woman." So, what this really points out to is that what Disraeli did really well in this charismatic style is that instead of making himself very big and powerful, or whatever the case is, or very smart, he instead gave his complete focus and attention to the woman that he was speaking with. And this is actually the charisma style that we're talking about, where you're giving someone that undivided attention. There's a lack of self-referencing and the attention on another person. And this is talked about in the spiritual texts as well, where there's a complete lack of the self and focus on the self and focus on others. In the Tao Te Ching, for example, in verse 49, the wise sage Lao Tzu says that the sage has no mind of his own. He is aware of the needs of others. He is good to people who are good. He is also good to people who are not good, because virtue is goodness. And this is just a very small excerpt. And what this points to is that sages aren't self-referencing, like I mentioned. They have this focus of helping others, of seeing the good in humanity, and their attention is on serving others. And this also points to equanimity here and impartiality, which I won't really cover in this talk, but this is also these spiritual qualities too, where you are good to everyone regardless, and you don't have these fixed views of this person's bad, this person's good, and have this judgmentalism. Now, here's what's also interesting. Psychopaths too also have this extreme presence and emptiness, but the slight difference here is this crucial factor of empathy. So they don't have the empathy that monks do typically. And they have what is called cold empathy rather than hot empathy. So they can understand emotions, which I'll talk to you about in a second, but they don't really feel it themselves. So there's a certain disconnect there. Now, like I mentioned, my best friend growing up is actually a psychopath, and I didn't realize this till later, but all the signs are just like, wow. And it's actually not as common as you think. I know in today's time, psychology is everyone's saying everyone's a narcissist or whatever it is, but to be a true psychopath, this is actually very rare. And he actually had all the hallmark signs of this, like superficial charm, remorselessness. He would constantly manipulate other people. He had zero fear and stress. I mean, he was, I think, born that way, where he didn't feel any kind of fear in any kind of dangerous situations, whatever. And also had really no conscience at all, or no ethical code. And he did a lot of crazy, reckless things. And when I had lost touch with him, I found out that he got arrested overseas, but somehow manipulated his way out of it, and got home safe. But what was also very interesting is that he did have crowds of people around him, and he was very charismatic. And he also shared this commonality of between himself and monks in the fact that he was extremely present with another person, and his attention was on another person also, which is what we talked about earlier. So he made the other person feel fully attended to, which is, again, a very key facet of charisma. Now, what you'll see in psychopaths is that this complete attention actually comes from a slightly different place. So you can actually observe this. So once you see this, you'll start to notice this more often. But it's coming from more of a cold and calculating place, where they are completely analyzing you. They're trying to study you or read you, just to see what you like and what you respond to. So they're looking for vulnerabilities there and try to see where they can get their in. But why their presence works, or their attention works, is that they adapt and mold to you. So what I noticed in my friend was that when he was speaking to someone who, for example, liked playing golf, he would talk about golf. When he was with another person that was very business minded and very logical, he would talk about things like business affairs and talk to them about money. When he was speaking to someone who had more of a spiritual interest, he would talk to them about his thoughts on religion and various meditation practices. So he would mold and adapt to the people that he was speaking with. And as a result, every single person thought that uh, this person was made for them. He was made for them because he again adapted and molded his empty core self to other people. And again, this is very tricky to notice because again, this looks like flexibility, not having a self, and presence, which are also spiritual qualities. So again, you want to study this more in depth to see what the bigger picture is like. Another commonality that psychopaths share with advanced meditators and monks is that they completely live in the now. They aren't referencing the past. Like they have this selective amnesia where they forget about the past, and they're not thinking ahead into the future and living in their logical minds, which is what a lot of non-meditators in today's very busy world do, is that they're constantly planning ahead. They're thinking a lot, they're strategizing, they're analyzing different viewpoints, doing all these things where a monk, advanced meditator, and also a psychopath are completely present here and now. This is extreme presence. Another commonality is that meditators and psychopaths, because they're completely present, also have this uncanny ability to read social cues and microexpressions. So, microexpressions are fleeting emotions that a person will express on their face that they can't really fake or push down. So, their hidden emotion always comes through and it only happens for a very split second. So monks and psychopaths do it really well, even better than police detectives and body language experts, because for the meditator, this comes from the sheer power of concentration that they learn to build. So as you begin to sharpen your mind through meditating for hours a day, for example, your mind becomes very clear, still, and again, you lose that internal stuff and baggage that you have, and you're also able to completely read other people because your attention is fully on them without any self-referencing. So you can see the hidden motions of other people, and they've done studies, for example, of Tibetan monks, and what they've noticed is that Tibetan monks with thousands of hours of practice are very adept of reading the feelings that are hidden from the rest of us. This is something that researcher Paul Ekman discovered, and he found that they could read all these emotions, and also for what Robert Hare found out, who was really instrumental of doing his research on psychopaths and developing the Robert Hare PCLR checklist to kind of assess the levels of psychopathy in other people. He also found that people that score very high in the PCLR also had this ability to detect very core emotions in other people and microexpressions as good as these monks. So that's kind of scary to think about because they're able to really spot these vulnerabilities and inconsistencies in other people. So they really are scanning for what we call prey-like behaviors in other people and how to exploit other people's weaknesses. Now, obviously, as you you to learn to develop your meditation practice, you want to be developing your meditation powers for good and presence for good, because what you will notice along the path is that as you continue to meditate, you will develop in your presence, like I mentioned. You will also lose the internal things that you have going on, your very strong views on things, your rigidity, and you learn to become completely present with another person, and hopefully use your presence and listening skills to help others and guide others, like what monks do. So you want to use the byproducts of your practice of charisma and the social skills to help guide other people, to make them feel heard and listened to, and help them along the path. So you always want to think about the path that you're taking, and use it to guide others. And also with this detection system that you develop through your meditation practice, you can also steer clear of people that don't have your best intentions at heart, and use your powers to make the world a better place. So anyways, very interesting topic. I know that's not really talked about often, but I hope you found this interesting. Let me know your comments. Thank you.